the important thing with any sort of acquisition is don't over leverage it. If you're having to manufacture returns through leverage, you shouldn't be doing it. It's been probably since 2013 that we could actually look at a market and say, hey, we can buy below replacement. Now, yes, the debt market isn't fantastic. You're probably going to be negative leverage if you want to go buy a property right now. But over the last 10 years, it's shifted from most of your petition of return going from cash flow to back end anyway. From an acquisition standpoint and operations standpoint, it's a little bit more oversupplied with respect to the national average. When I say that, I mean, new supply versus existing supply, that percentage increase. So that's what we're looking at. Now, having said that, I think if you can stomach underwriting negative to flat rent growth, depending on your location, depending on your quality of build and intangibles over the next 3 years, Phoenix is probably the top market in the country, in my opinion.
Let's dive in. Another great episode of Multifamily Forward presented by Mark Taylor Residential. I'm Adam Greco, and we have a new host sitting next to me today. It is you, Mr. Carlson.
It's me.
You have a new part in your hairdo, which I'm very jealous that you can actually make that choice on a daily basis.
Yeah, I have a lot of decisions to make in the morning. That's one of them. How do I do my hair?
Ouch. Once again. Excited for today. We have a very special guest, and in fact, a longtime friend of ours, of Mark Taylor, and we are talking the art of real estate acquisitions. So starting right from the beginning, let's talk about the importance of making smart acquisitions or decisions on purchasing.
I think there's, we don't have time to go through the list, but I'll just say at a high level, it's clear that operationally, post-acquisition, meaning once you get the keys, your property management company can't resuscitate a bad deal or fix it. So you have to acquire, I think, with the most due diligence, the most thoughtful approach from underwriting to understanding your objectives from an investment perspective. What's your hold time? What's the thesis of that investment? And I think we do a great job with our consulting arm in new business side, led by you and Allison, in terms of how we approach each deal. And what I mean by that is, as you go to market, meaning as someone lists a Class A deal in Phoenix Metro as an example, or Las Vegas, we underwrite that project immediately. We look for it from an acquisition as if it was our own perspective and underwrite it as such, and try to understand what potential could be with that asset or that investment. And as we work with different ownership groups that are looking to acquire, it certainly allows us to calibrate and understand where their investment thesis is, to see if it matches ours, and just to see if philosophically that we're on the same page and that maybe we potentially could work together for a successful investment. So that whole process has to work seamlessly to make a good investment, in my opinion. And that's how we play.
I'm excited to bring on our special guest, and I failed to mention his name, Mr. Robert Ireland from CRA. Why don't we just bring him in so we can just dive into it? You ready? Let's do this. We have him. He's here with us, the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Robert Ireland from CRA. Let me make sure I have your full title. Managing Director of Investments, of course, with CRA.
That's right. I don't own the company because I don't want to take that kind of risk.
There, again, the man, the myth, the legend. Thank you for being here with us. It's very exciting to have you.
Well, thanks for having me. Really enjoyed working with you all over the years. You've helped us a lot, take deals from acquisition to disposition, and we've all become very good friends, and I really do appreciate that. And thank you for having me.
It's always been our pleasure.
Great to have you.
We are talking, of course, the art of real estate acquisitions. But before we dive into it, mind if I hit you with a couple of questions, get to know you a little bit more?
Absolutely.
Okay, so the first thing, and of course we have a couple questions already prepared for you, but I did a little research, and I see that you are an avid fly fisherman. Out of Denver, correct? Out of Colorado?
That's correct.
Do you tie your own flies?
I do not. I do not have time to tie my own flies. I have 3 little boys. So when I retire someday, which will probably be never with this kind of market environment, I'll learn to tie my own flies.
And do you wear the waders, or are you
floating? I've got the whole 9 yards. I wear the waders,
you're
the hat.
Officially pro fly fisherman.
I'm not very good at fly fishing. I just like to go stand by the river and drink scotch.
Even better.
So question, I've never asked you this, knowing that your oldest, right, is River?
Yeah.
Was that part of the naming of the river?
Absolutely. River, Sawyer, and Banks. So I really enjoy fly fishing.
I love it. I love it. I love
Maybe
it.
a little too much, my wife thinks.
I'm assuming they're going with you, correct? Yes.
River,
Yes.
oh yeah, I had river on a fly rod at 3 years old. So
That's great. That's great. So outside of work, what's your favorite pastime besides fly fishing?
it's probably it. When I was younger, I enjoyed doing triathlons and those sorts of things, but now, well, I'm just too out of shape to do them. But I still like to do a little road biking here and there. So, but right now I enjoy working and hanging out with my boys. So,
And if there was one thing about you that people wouldn't expect, what would it be?
well, being a real estate guy, I've actually never filed for bankruptcy. So, I think that's good. And I like watching rom-coms with my wife.
Hey,
And,
I love
and
it.
although I continually make fun of her, I like watching all the I like watching Filthy Rich Asians, and I like watching
It's bonding.
Great movie.
yeah,
It's bonding.
Gilmore Girls.
Yeah,
My favorite
absolutely.
color is purple. So there's lots of things we could spend a couple more hours on all those things.
I mean, I think Gilmore Girls is probably going to get hit on Netflix now, right? Bunch
Yeah.
of
Oh,
downloads
yeah, it's
because
going to
you said
number
that.
one.
Yeah, yeah.
As long as I
Just
get
from this-
royalties,
Just,
I'm okay.
just a
Yes.
whole nother demographic watching Gilmore Girls.
I love it. I love it. Robert, thank you so much. Let's dive in. Let's talk the makings of a smart acquisition. So, can you walk us through how you strategize when looking for an acquisition?
Sure. We use a pretty data-driven approach, just like you do. Not to your level, but we acquire nationally. Recently, mostly Texas West, but we're looking at data such as jobs to permit ratios. We're looking at pure employment growth. Right. If you look back 30 years, what's most correlated with rent growth is employment growth.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you take the supply side of that, and you've got your jobs to permits ratio. So, for instance, we went to Albuquerque early because we recognized that there was a very high jobs to permits ratio. It was affordable relative to other Western markets, and we got in a little bit early there. But first and foremost, we're looking for location. We're a lot like Mark Taylor in that I think quality is important to us, especially this day and age when you have labor and material costs that are so high. So we're looking for good demographic areas, call it A or B type locations. We're looking for employment support. We're looking for a lack of supply, and if there is supply, making sure obviously it can be absorbed. Those are the things that we look for. And then we're looking for project level opportunity. We're a smaller group. We do somewhere between 1 and 5 deals a year. And I think for a lot of people, that have AUM models, they don't quite understand that. But for us, it's quality over quantity.
That's great. And John, for you to add in from a fee management or property management lens, any additional factors that you see?
Again, I think it's about alignment. So I understand mostly, where Robert's company from an investment thesis perspective is or lands. And that's helpful for us because it's easy for us as we underwrite deals to say, oh yeah, this aligns with CRA. We understand their objectives, their strategy, hold time, all of those things, the things that he just described. And I think that gives you a clear path to success in terms of that partnership, because that's what it's about. We're hired to execute on that investment. And if there's a misalignment to start, you're probably going to fail, meaning pull the ripcord, management companies out. It's also about being a partner. So if we see things that maybe they don't because we are hyper-focused on 2 markets, whereas as Robert mentioned, he's national.
Of course.
We might uncover some things that say, hey, consider this before you go to committee, which is probably mostly you, but consider this before you make this purchase.
That's right.
I can't hold this back, but you mentioned being aligned, relationship, knowing our client. I love that because, again, it's always being about being a part of a partnership with each other. Correct?
Oh, no question. I mean, I think back 10 years ago, many mistakes made, but 15 years ago, looking at, okay, we want to create some new business. So, this guy's buying this deal or this group. Great. Let's get the property management agreement, but we know nothing about that group or that person. Today, it's the opposite. Okay, who is actually coming to the table? Who's trying to buy this asset? What about them makes us the right fit?
Yeah.
Why is that enticing?
Yep.
So that's the I'll say genesis of experience and understanding how to work with the right groups.
Great. Robert, I'm going to kick this back to you again. So in a time right now where we're seeing low transaction volume, unattractive debt terms, do you still think there's opportunity for acquisitions?
Absolutely. We buy through every point of every cycle. I've been doing this for almost 20 years, came out of college right before the Great Recession.
Mm-hmm.
So we bought through that and before it and after it and did fine. And the important thing with any sort of acquisition is don't over leverage it. If you're having to manufacture returns through leverage, you shouldn't be doing it. That's always been my opinion. It's something we don't do. And I think, unfortunately, there's going to be a lot of people learning that lesson pretty hardly here in the next 6 months, or already have. But it's a testament as you look for location, you look for partners such as you all to help qualify those assets you're going to acquire and trust the people that you work with. And then again, just don't over leverage. In this point of the cycle, though, there's the opportunity to go buy assets, in my opinion, at a true discount to replacement. I know you all build, you manage, you understand what replacement is. John, I've asked you many times, hey, what do you think replacement is on a 2-story walk-up, on a mid-rise? And off the top of your heads, it's very valuable for me to understand that. It's been probably since 2013 that we could actually look at a market and say, hey, we can buy below replacement. Now, yes, the debt market isn't fantastic. You're probably going to be negative leverage if you want to go buy a property right now. But over the last 10 years, it's shifted from most of your petition of return going from cash flow to back end anyway. So if you can sit there and say, I can buy at a discount of 25% to current replacement, and I can exit at close to prior peak or maybe a little bit over it, from an acquisition standpoint, I don't think you have to overthink things. Buy basis, buy location, and everything's going to be fine, and don't over leverage. So I absolutely think there's opportunity in this market. In fact, this is the best market environment I've seen in a very long time from an opportunistic standpoint. So yes, absolutely, there's opportunity in this market.
That's great. That's great to hear. And John, any additional observations? Current market conditions?
I think, there's folks that become paralyzed in downturns. I think of it as an opportunity. Cycles happen historically. They will always continue. When you think about a lot of folks think about or focus on things that are changing. I think about things that don't change. And there's a great author, I'll think of his name, but talking about the fundamentals in business and strategy and the overall, I'll say real estate paradigm, if you will. But I just think that, there's always opportunities that are screaming when others don't see it. And certainly that's the case today and probably will be for quite some time. And again, based on Robert's description, when you think about where you want to be, location basis, all of those things matter a lot. And I think it's, groups that get this focus on momentum and we have to do this, and they're trying to force acquisitions and really force things in a market that shouldn't allow for those type of decisions.
Sure.
They're in that type of pain today.
Yeah.
And I think the smart investors, folks that really understand the cycles, the cyclical nature, are a bit more conservative, are groups that will be sustaining themselves long-term, like us being in business almost 40 years.
That's great. Robert, since you're all across the country, of course, we're a regional company. This is our home. This is our backyard, Phoenix MSA. How does buying, owning, and operating assets compare Phoenix to other markets?
Couple things. Historically, pre-Great Recession, I think that it was just a more volatile market. It wasn't as much diversity with respect to employment. So thereafter, I think it stacks up well better than most markets from a population growth standpoint and employment growth standpoint. So we like those sorts of things. Now, I think on a short-term basis, we have a lot of supply. There's a reason for that. You need it. Unfortunately, it got all delivered at once. So I think from an acquisition standpoint and operations standpoint, it's a little bit more oversupplied with respect to the national average. When I say that, I mean, new supply versus existing supply, that percentage increase. So that's what we're looking at. Now, having said that, I think if you can stomach underwriting negative to flat rent growth, depending on your location, depending on your quality of build and intangibles, over the next 3 years, Phoenix is probably the top market in the country, in my opinion, because after that all gets absorbed, and it will, based on the data that we're seeing. And I know you guys have fantastic data yourselves. It's more robust than ours, but come 26, 27, if you're okay buying now at that basis that we discussed, and you're okay running flat line rents, I think that in 26, 27, we're going to see probably some of the highest growth rates from a rent standpoint in the country. Also, from a non-controllable standpoint, Phoenix is easy to predict. You know what taxes are going to be, and insurance costs on a per unit basis are probably 25 to 30% of coasts, and in certain areas like Colorado, Nebraska that have high wind and hail claims. Insurance is becoming a big problem in this industry that I don't know what the solve is, and it's really just any sort of property casualty. So we love Phoenix from that standpoint. You don't have much rain, you don't have many floods. You don't have hail. So from that
Hurricanes, et
standpoint,
cetera.
it
Yeah.
is way easier to understand because although you may have negative flat rent growth, your NOI may get dinged more in I don't know, Denver, Colorado right now just because of these non-controllable expenses, taxes, insurance. So
Bad legislation.
yeah, bad legislation. I mean, that's going to be a giant risk in this industry that we've talked about for years, but it's,
Colorado's the epicenter of that right now.
it is.
It's the new Oregon, Washington.
Yeah. Colorado.
Can't
and
see a news article not mentioning Colorado currently.
Absolutely. Another market that I know you guys have been in or are in is Las Vegas. And that's another market where we're very, very concerned with the legislative docket and, the fact that we have a governor there that's been vetoing these sorts of issues, but what's going to happen when they're gone.
Right.
So there's a lot of challenges and you just kind of have to understand these different markets. But Phoenix has always been our, backyard, our second home, if you will, at CRA. And we'll continue to invest here.
Good. Well, we're all proud to hear that, by the way.
Only if John
That
says
excites
it's
us.
okay.
John, just tailing off of what Robert mentioned, what lies ahead for Phoenix?
From a multifamily specific perspective?
That'd be great. Thank you. We're called Multifamily Forward.
Not industrial, not office. I can go all,
I know you got it all.
sectors, yeah.
Yeah.
No, multifamily, I think Robert hit most of it. I'll just, highlight it. Obviously, we're in a supply cresting time zone, if you will. So we're delivering about 60,000 units in a 4-year period, 21 through 24. That's through end of 2024. If you compare that to 11 through 19, meaning 2011 through 19, our last decade, we delivered about the same over that 10-year stretch. So absorption matters. We've had a lot of pent-up demand. Household formations have been strong. Jobs to permit ratios have been great. So, all of these are tailwinds, I think, for success, but we're going to have temporary pain. So longer term, the outlook looks great. I think the old adage pre-NMHC, we were saying survive until 25.
Sure.
Now I say take your licks until 26.
Yep.
And I think, after that, sun starts to shine, clouds move away, rain stops. Take off your raincoat, Robert, that you have in Denver. So I think things we're expecting to see better results longer term.
Well, that's good. That's good. It's all positive, right?
Mm-hmm.
We love Phoenix.
And it's true, although we're not in an actual recession, us real estate folks are in one. So I think that's what a lot of people don't necessarily understand. Look at the stock market, look at jobs data, all these things. We're all amateur economists at this point, all trying to predict when the Fed's going to reduce rates. And unfortunately, that's kind of the basis of our business. And at some point when that does correct, along with the supply, kind of getting absorbed, I think things in Phoenix specifically are going to blow up from both a capital and rent standpoint.
Understood. I love it. Well, Robert, we have a tradition where we talk about what we're grateful for when we close out our episodes. Want to say thank you again for being here with us.
Thank you for having me.
It does not have to be multifamily driven as far as what you're grateful for. Could be absolutely anything. What's on your mind? What are you grateful for today?
Well, I am grateful for you all. I'm grateful for you all as friends and as partners. I think that a lot of people say that. I actually do mean it.
Thank you.
You take a lot of weight off of our shoulders with a couple of our partners that we deal with over time. We've dealt with over time and make us look good. So thank you. And of course, I'm grateful for my family. I love
and the
being
Gilmore
with them.
girls too.
Yeah. I mean, look, I'm not mad about being here in Phoenix tonight and getting a night of sleep and maybe a few cocktails. But I love them and I'm grateful for them.
I'm sure it's reciprocated. I'm sure. Mr. Carlson.
I'm going to echo your sentiments around our relationship. I think that it's obviously grown over the years. I really appreciate your expertise, how you look at deals. You're creative. You're not just black and white when it comes to getting deals done. I think you've truly benefited. I've been to your investor summit. You've benefited a lot of folks and their companies in terms of their investments and returns. So kudos to you and all of that. Personally, I'm grateful to start 2024 on some, I'll say, momentous things. I won't get into details in terms of the organization, but also from a family perspective, just appreciate my wife and daughter. And I'll say that in true Robert form, I do love the movie Pitch Perfect. So when the girls say, "Oh, let's just watch Pitch Perfect," I'm like, "Oh, fine, we'll do that." And I actually like number 2, 3 was average.
I'm about to say, 3 was average. Number 2 is underrated.
2's not bad.
Sing 2 is pretty good too. If you really want to get into
Yeah,
movies,
I
if you want to
I
separate.
just watched that with my son.
It's very good.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. I'm going to agree with you on that one. I'm going
How
to throw
about you,
in
Adam?
I'm going to throw in a personal one. So
Okay.
this morning, my 10-year-old boy, his name is Vinny. He has a
Shocker. Vinny.
Vinny. Yeah, go figure. He's got a vowel at the end of his name. He's got a project at school about he had to pick a country. Well, he would miss school that day, so the only thing that was left that he had any interest in is Greece. So I asked him, give me the top 2 things that stand out to you as far as in your research. What are you going to report to? First one he tells me is that even though Greece comprises of a number of different islands, 80% of the country is mountainous. It consists of mountains. That's awesome, man. I had no idea. What's number 2? Back in ancient Greek times, when they used to go to the bathroom, they would use rocks to clean themselves. I was like, oh, I'm glad that you were focused on that, and you're going to share that in front of your school. And absolutely, Dad, it's my number 2 bullet point. So
Facts
I'm grateful for
over
my
feelings.
son's
Yeah, I love it.
focus on what is truly important in life.
That's probably
And
the one
history.
thing all those other kids remember.
Yes,
that day, too.
absolutely, absolutely.
Vinny Greco, the historian.
Exactly. Yes.
Well, I did not know that. So
See, we're learning
There you
something
go.
on a daily basis. Robert, thank you again for joining us. This has
Thank
been
you so much
fantastic.
for having
John,
me.
thank you for guiding us and leading us as always. Appreciate everyone coming and visiting with us. Another great episode, Multifamily Forward, presented by Mark Taylor Residential.